Let's welcome in our morning guest. Mayuresh Joshi is now with us. Sumit Bagadia is also with us, and Vikas Sethi will join us in just a bit. Mayuresh, let's start with you. What are your picks?
Morning, Pankaj. I think going by the trend that we've witnessed so far, the financial services space has given a very decent set of numbers. Barring Axis Bank, which disappointed on NII growth of just 4% and generally elevated asset stress still remaining on the balance sheet, which will very well continue into Q4. Our own sense is that credit costs, which were elevated for FY17, will remain so. The only hope remains if the watch list that they've talked about is the worst part that they've probably witnessed in terms of their balance sheet exposure to corporates. And as credit growth starts picking up for the first half of FY18, you might see some traction happening on that front with elevated stress coming down on the balance sheet. Credit costs should start coming down as well. And with improvement on the retail side, both in terms of the CASA ratio as well as the non-interest income portion, which has a lot of granularity, our own sense is that the next few quarters will be interesting. But generally, I think the financial space has posted reasonable set of numbers. Housing finance companies have posted reasonable numbers, contrary to expectations that numbers will be poor. So in that sense, I think banking stroke financials is something that we'll still continue to pursue. Power as a space is something that I've liked for a length of time. I think continue to look at players like Power Grid, which are looking extremely impressive in terms of their capitalization program. And largely, again, I think earnings growth expected to be about 17-18% with a regulated ROE model. The transformer space is something that I've always discussed and liked. This is one space within the power space that is expected to do well. So selective stocks within this space should continue doing well. And again, specific BOP players in the power equipment space is expected to continue the traction with good orders coming through, which will mean good return ratios, specifically the return on equity. Third, I think selectively pharma stocks, something like Lupin on declines, even from the current levels, is something that I like and pursue. Earnings growth expected to be strong in excess of 17%. Got a huge amount of generic data line space add up around $15-16 billion in the US markets, around $13-14 billion in the Japanese markets. And again, I think that pipeline, along with the concerns on the FDA, receding for a stock like Lupin. For IT, I'll be a little bit selective at this point of time and wait for better entry points, specifically in top-tier names and very, very specific in the mid-cap space. And within the mid-cap universe itself, I think I'll be extremely selective. So stock like Mirza International, if it gets declined to further levels, I think this is one stock that I'll continue to pursue because of strong earnings momentum that the stock can witness post first half FY18. The numbers can be a little bit tepid in Q3, Q4, but the first half should show strong earnings momentum come back for the stock.
Sumit, what are your calls for the day?
Hi, good morning, Pankaj. Well, we have three calls for the day. The first one is ONGC. Looking at the crude, it seems that ONGC can give good upside move from present levels. I think if anyone wants to initiate a position in ONGC, then that should be on buy side. One can initiate long position in ONGC at CMP with a small stop loss to be placed at 194 levels on lower side. For an immediate upside till 210 levels, and if 210 is taken away, then we can see extended move till 220 levels in next couple of days. So overall, ONGC is looking good on charts. One can initiate long positions. The second pick for the day is Cadila Healthcare. We feel that Cadila Healthcare can give good up move from present levels. Yesterday also we saw, in fact in last couple of days we have seen that Cadila has given a good bounce back from lower levels. From the levels of 345 we have seen that it has come to 360 levels. Now looking at the chart, it seems that immediately the stock is headed for 375 or 380 levels. So purely for a trading perspective, one can initiate long position in Cadila Healthcare at CMP with a small stop loss to be placed at 347 levels on lower side for an immediate upside till 375, 380 levels in next couple of days. And the third pick for the day is Havels. After results, Havels has given a good upside move from lower levels. Now looking at the chart, it seems that immediately the stock is headed for 410 or 420 levels. So for a trading perspective, one can initiate long position in Havels at CMP, that is at around 387. Or if by chance there is a dip of around 3 to 4 points from present levels, then that can be used as a buying opportunity with a small stop loss to be placed at 374 levels on lower side for the immediate upside till 410 levels. And if 410 is taken away, then we can see extended move till 420 levels in next couple of days.
Right. Vikas Sethi is also now with us. Vikas, what are your calls?
Yeah, good morning, Pankaj. I continue to remain bullish on the markets ahead of the budget. So all the calls which I've given are buy calls for today. My first pick would be a Torrent Power. This stock was in focus yesterday. Actually, most of the power stocks have been doing well over the past few days in anticipation of some positive announcements in the budget. So I think the rally would continue, and I have a target of 205 rupees on the stock for today. The second pick would be a Jain Irrigation. Again, a play on the budget, as well as I like the stock from a long-term point of view. The results which the company declared after the good monsoon which we've had for the September quarter were pretty good, and the company is doing the right things. So I continue to remain bullish on Jain Irrigation from a long-term point of view, and even in the short term, I think the stock would do well. So I'm bullish on the stock, and I think we could see levels of 100 rupees today. And my third idea would be a buy call on GAIL. This stock also did pretty well yesterday. They have a board meeting lined up on the 25th to declare a bonus issue and also some fundraising plans. Most of the oil and gas stocks are doing well, so I think the rally would continue, and I remain positive on GAIL, and my target for today would be 475 rupees on the stock.
Axis Bank declared numbers. Numbers were, of course, a miss, whether you look at the PAT number, whether you look at the provisioning numbers. The gross NPA was higher than estimates. Slippages, however, were lower. Mayuresh, you mentioned about private banks and Axis particularly. Can you just tell us, do you expect a negative reaction today on Axis Bank?
Looking at numbers, Pankaj, yes, I think a soft start is expected for the bank, but it was always expected that provisionings are going to be elevated, slippages are going to be on the higher side as well. And again, I think the watch list, which has got timbered down over the last 3 quarters, my entire sense is that as conditions start improving, specifically in the Indian and the global context, in terms of metal pricing and mining pricing moving up on the ferrous and non-ferrous side, a lot of stress that comes from this sector in terms of elevated slippages and working capital constraints starts easing out. Secondly, I think even in terms of credit growth, it's higher single digits that we're probably witnessing, and we might witness that for Q3, Q4 as well. But over the longer period of time, starting from the first half of FY18, as credit growth starts picking up in higher double digits, my own sense is that with strong capital adequacy like banks, like corporate-facing banks like Axis and ICICI have got, and the kind of branch network that they've got, they lie in a far superior position. Third, I think the granularity, as I said, of the non-interest income component, whether that be from retail, fee income, transaction banking, still contributes significantly, almost 69% odd. Retail fee contribution contributes almost 45% odd to the non-interest income component. So that's a huge contribution as well. So if all these things start falling in place, my own sense is that the worst can probably get over. Can the stocks correct, specifically the corporate-facing ones from the current level 5-10%? They can very well correct. But over the next few weeks, I think they can become excellent buying opportunities for the long term.
Another large stock that will be in focus will be Motherson Sumi. Overnight in the morning, that is India time, they have announced an acquisition of PKC Group. The acquisition is a big one, 575 million euros. Remember, Motherson Sumi has already done the fundraising. Out of this 571 million euros, I was looking at the balance sheet of PKC Group. So that was slightly on the higher side in terms of debt. So about 200 million goes away from there. And they have about 350 million euros. This is a 51% premium because 15 euros was the closing price, and the transaction is expected to complete by March 2017. So that will also be a stock in focus. So I think that the street would just wait for the management commentary. They have not come out and told about the margins of the company, what is their rationale in terms of margins or plans for margins. So that probably is something which the street would focus on. But this is the first bell that you can see. So Nifty is down about 30 points right from the first tick. Infosys is down about 6 points. Ambuja Cement is down 1.2. BHEL is down 0.5%. HDFC Limited about 0.5% down. BPCL 673. Cipla flat with a positive bias, and ACC down about 1%, 1350. Aurobindo Pharma on your screen, 5 rupees decline. There is an initiation which has come in from Kotak, 709, but don't think that the markets is paying attention to that. HDFC Bank 60 paisa higher. Hero Motor Corp 6 to 7 rupees on the lower side, and Eicher Motors is up about 0.48%. Axis Bank is down about 5%. So on the first tick, you've seen a 459 rupee move. Look at the volumes, 1.65 million shares traded, and clearly it is one of the names that will be in highlight throughout the day today. So Axis Bank is about 4% lower. Motherson Sumi, 85,000 shares traded. Again, very, very good volumes. When you look at a Motherson Sumi, 1% down. It's a stock that's reacting to news flow regarding acquisition. So Motherson Sumi is down about 1.2%. Mindtree is down 1.4%, and if I'm not wrong, it was slightly on the lower side yesterday as well. Yeah, it was down yesterday as well ahead of the results. Results were okay, but probably one would just wait for execution. So it was down about 2% yesterday. It's down about 1.5%. Today as well. Alembic Limited reacting to numbers, marginal profit versus a loss, and that is something which always the street would like. So that's something which it is reacting to. Gallant Ispat is flat. Let's pull up Yes Bank as well. That's up around 1% or so. So that's again reacting to the numbers. Remember, Axis was a miss, but Yes Bank did particularly well, and maybe that's why the street is giving it a thumbs up sort of a move coming in right now. 1359. Yes Bank, you heard the management during market hours. You got the results well before market hours. So overall, the street already knew about numbers, but maybe they are reacting right now as well. In terms of some of the other names which are attracting a lot of volumes or are in focus, Idea Cellular is up 2% right now. It was one of the gainers yesterday as well. Let's just pull up Idea. The news flow is that they were, I think, considering the numbers on Monday, but they're not considering that now. But definitely that's not a positive news. In fact, it's not even a negative news because they'll give the numbers in the next few days. Suzlon is up about 2.5%. GAIL continues to move up. It was the top Nifty gainer yesterday. It's up another 1.2% today, so 466. Suzlon is up close to 3%. 3% now up for Suzlon. It was, I think, up 10% yesterday as well. Jet Airways is up 2%. Alembic Limited has now added on to gains, so it's up around 1.8, 1.9% now. GAIL, which we pointed out, is up around 1% or so, so that continues to move on the higher side. Yes Bank is up around 1%. Indian Overseas Bank, IDBI are some of the other movers. One of our guests was mentioning about Havells and the sort of move that it has seen. It's now up a full 1%. I think it's crossed the highs of the result day as well. So Havells is one stock which is up around 1%. And one of our guests mentioned that it should be among the top holdings, at least in the near term. United Spirits went down yesterday. It's up around 0.7% today, but it's been in focus in the last few days. So that's a name which has been in focus. And Cadila has done a small acquisition. It's up around 0.5%. Sumit, Havells was your pick. It's up around 1.5%. Could you just revisit the targets for us?
Yes, absolutely, Pankaj. Havells is looking good on charts, and now it seems that we will see a good upside move in the counter because it has given a breakout, and immediately 400 would act as a psychological resistance for the counter. As soon as 400 is taken away, we can see a rally till 410 and 420 levels. I think those who have taken positions in Havells at lower levels should hold on their existing positions, and if anyone wants to initiate a fresh long position in Havells, then they can initiate at CMP for an immediate upside till 410 and 420 levels.
Right. Any view on Yes Bank, Sumit?
See, Pankaj, Yes Bank has given a good move, and result was also on the positive side. So it seems that Yes Bank should move higher from present levels. In fact, if we have a look on the charts, we have seen that it has broken the consolidation band in which it was moving from last 2 months. Immediately looking at the chart, it seems that it's a breakout, and on high side we can see levels of around 1400 or 1440 levels. So purely for a trading perspective, if anyone wants to initiate a position in Yes Bank, then they can initiate long positions at CMP, or if by chance there is a move of around 10 to 20 points on downside from present levels, and that can be used as a buying opportunity. With a trading stop loss can be placed at around 1320 levels on lower side for an immediate target of 1400 and 1440 levels.
Right. Sumit, GAIL has been moving up. Any view on GAIL? It's also among the top gainers today as well.
GAIL is among the top picks. It has a given breakout. Looking at the chart, it seems that we can see a fresh upside rally of 10% from present levels. Yesterday, we saw a very good move in GAIL from low levels. Now, immediately, the stock is headed for 500 levels. As soon as 500 levels are taken away, we will see extended move till 530 levels. So for a move of around 10 to 15% from present levels, one can initiate long positions in GAIL at CMP, or if by chance there is a small retracement from present levels, then till 455 levels, then that can be used as a good buying opportunity for an immediate target of 500, and then we can see levels of around 530.
Vikas, any fundamental call on GAIL? It's up some 6-7% in the last 2 days.
Yeah, Pankaj, in my morning, in the previous query which you had, I had recommended GAIL to be bought today with a target of 475. I think most of the oil and gas stocks are in focus, and GAIL has lined up a board meeting on the 25th, which is the next Wednesday, when they would be considering a bonus and also announcing some fundraising plans, which should be positive for the stock. So I continue to remain bullish on GAIL, and it was my top pick today, and I think one would do well to hold it positionally for some more upside in the stock.
Right. Mayuresh, would you believe that oil and gas would tend to do well? Oil marketing companies have done well, but now others will start to do well. GAIL, IGL, maybe ONGC as well.
So again, I think the entire universe, Pankaj, the upstream is highly dependent and divergent on how oil prices move. And the large expectations are that oil pricing would be around $55-60 a barrel, with shale expected to come through if oil prices cross 60. So I think that should be a cap for oil pricing, which basically means that the net realizations for oil companies, specifically the upstream ones, have improved on a quarter-on-quarter basis for $45.7 a barrel. At the end of Q2, it was around $49.1 a barrel at the end of Q3. So you'll see obviously that gain coming through. But for upstream companies, again, the reduction in gas prices from 3.4 MMBTU to 2.8 MMBTU, that's going to probably offset the kind of gains that they'll probably see from processing of crude that will come through. The OMC story probably remains intact because the large part of delta which had come through in the past few quarters because of falling prices, leading to lesser debt, lesser working capital constraints on their balance sheet, is largely probably baked in the balance sheet. The marketing margins both in petrol and diesel have increased substantially over the past few quarters as well. But there is still scope of improvement happening on that front, and because there is no subsidy sharing on the OMC part as well, I think the earnings delta still continues for OMCs. So OMCs, though richly valued at this point of time, still continue to be a hold. The midstream companies, again, I think one really needs to have trigger points for them because a lot of movement has happened. GAIL, for example, what happens with tariff revisions? LPG prices have moved up significantly in the past few weeks because of winter season in the West and in Japan as well. And that has probably led to pricing moving up to around $7. That will probably have an impact. They've probably offsetted that with increase in gas prices that we've probably seen in companies like IGL do that by 1 rupee 85 paise, specifically on the CNG side. But that was purely because they had to pass on the cost. So on the midstream and the gas distribution companies, I think I'll be selective on midstream. Gas distribution companies, I still remain positive. The numbers can be a little bit subdued because of the expansion that they're doing, which will lead to higher interest, higher depreciation cost on their balance sheet. But largely the longer term story still remains structurally intact for city gas distribution companies.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out time for us. Always good to get in a perspective. Sumit, let's start with you. Any disclosures?
Yes, absolutely, Pankaj. We have spoken about few stocks, views which we have shared on NDTV profit. Same view we share with our clients on regular basis. So it's better to assume that our clients might have positions. Thank you very much.
Mayuresh, disclosures for you?
Pankaj, all the stocks that we've discussed, no personal holdings in them, but it's possible we've discussed them with our clients, and it is possible that we may have a few holdings on the stock discussed in the funds that we hold on behalf of our clients.
Mr. Sethi, for you?
Yeah, I think it would be safe to assume that my friends and clients would have interest in the stocks which we have discussed today.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us here this morning. Always good to get in a perspective.